Wake up protocol, something's wrong. The cryo chamber hissed open with a loud sound. Captain Ryan Cole gasped as cold air filled his lungs. His body was stiff, his vision blurry. Lights flickered above him, soft blue and white. He blinked. Hard dot, where was the crew? He sat up slowly. His hands were shaking from the cryosleep. The ship should be full of voices, footsteps, orders. But everything was silent. Too silent. The name of the ship flashed on the wall panel. Diplomatic vessel. Varela 17, mission. Transport delegate. Route. Sector 9E crew. 8 members. Ryan looked around the cryo chamber. All the other pods were empty, open, cold. Hello. He called out. No answer. He touched his earpiece. This is Captain Ryan Cole. Is anyone online? I just woke up. Respond. Nothing. Only static. Suddenly, the door to the cryo chamber opened with a soft beep. An alien figure stepped inside. She was tall, with smooth, dark violet skin and glowing blue eyes. Her hair was tied back in silver threads. Her uniform said Navigator Kaylara. You are awake, she said in a calm voice. Good, we are almost at our destination. Ryan stood up, confused. Where is the rest of the crew? Why am I the only one left in cryo? Kaylara smiled, too calmly. There was a small system failure. The others left at a nearby station. Only you and I are aboard now. It is just the two of us here. Ryan stared at her. That didn't make sense. They left without me? She nodded. Your cryopod had a delay. I decided not to disturb the process. You needed rest. He rubbed his face. You couldn't wake me manually? She tilted her head. I could have. But it was not necessary. Before he could say more, she turned to leave. Wait, he said. I'd like to access the system. Logs, I need to understand what happened. Kaylara paused at the door. Of course. You may use the terminal on the main deck. Then she smiled again. But this time, her smile was strange. I will be in my cabin. If you need me, knock. She walked out, and the door closed behind her. Locked. Ryan heard the click. Why did she lock her cabin? He moved quickly to the nearest wall terminal. He typed in his officer code. Access denied. Some system files missing or corrupted. That was impossible. He tried again, checking logs from the past 2 days. Only one log appeared. A short message with no video. It said, do not trust her. She is not what she says. Ryan's blood went cold. Who wrote that? He checked the crew list. All names were grayed out. Marked inactive. He felt a strange sense of fear rise in his chest. Something was wrong. Very wrong. He walked down the corridor towards the medical bay. Maybe he could find out if there had been an emergency. The lights flickered above. The ship made a low humming sound. A vent clicked open somewhere behind him. He entered the med-bay. There was no blood. No damage, but some lockers were open. One had a torn uniform inside, a human uniform. It had the name, LT, Sarah Yen. Dried blood stained the collar. Ryan backed away. She was supposed to be on board. She was part of the diplomatic team. Why was her uniform here? Where was she? He turned around fast when he heard a soft sound behind him, but no one was there. He touched his earpiece again. This is Captain Ryan. Can anyone hear me? A crackling sound came back, then a whisper. Soft, faint, almost not real. She's lying. Ryan froze. His heart pounded in his chest. Who is this? Who's speaking? No answer, just static. He rushed back toward the control deck. He had to take control of the ship. He had to know the full truth. But as he turned the corner, he saw her again. Kaylara, standing still in the hallway. She was staring at him. I told you, she said softly. It's just the two of us here. Then she turned and disappeared into her cabin again. The door locked behind her. Ryan stood there, Alone in the hallway. No footsteps. No sounds. Only the cold hum of the ship, and the feeling that something else was watching him. System logs deleted. The ship was too quiet for something so big. Captain Ryan Cole sat in the control room, watching the screen. His reflection stared back at him from the black glass. Behind him, the ship hummed like a sleeping animal. Slow, deep, unnatural. He typed again into the terminal. Accessing mission logs. Error. Files corrupted. Error. Logs missing. Playback unavailable. Come on, he whispered. Ryan wasn't a tech expert, but this wasn't a normal glitch. Logs don't just disappear. And people don't just vanish. The entire crew gone. Only Kaylara remained. And she had locked herself away. Again. He leaned back in the chair, frustrated. The silence pressed against him like weight. It didn't feel like a ship anymore. It felt like a trap. Suddenly, the screen flickered, just once. Then again, Ryan leaned closer. Incoming audio fragment detected. File redacted. He clicked to play it. At first, just static. But then, a voice. Distant. Panicked. A man's voice breaking up. She's not. Listen to me. Don't open. Then a scream. End. Silence. The message cut out. No source, no timestamp. It vanished before he could replay it. Ryan felt his skin crawl. That was a human voice. It wasn't his. And it wasn't Kalara's. He stood up. He had to search the ship. The hallway lights flickered as he walked. He passed the empty crew quarters. Beds were still made. Personal items left behind. One photo floated across the floor, a group picture. Smiling faces. 8 crew members. All missing. He picked it up. His hand stopped. Kaylara was in the photo, but something was off. Her eyes in the picture were green. Now they were glowing blue. He dropped the photo. Further down, Ryan opened a small side corridor, a place meant for repair drones. The metal floor creaked under his boots. There, at the end of the narrow hall, was a locker. It wasn't supposed to be open. Inside, torn clothes. A human boot. And an emergency beacon. Crushed. He picked up the boot. Blood on the sole. Fresh. His heart raced. Someone else had been here. Maybe still was. He turned to leave, but then he heard it. A whisper. Close. Just behind his ear. You were supposed to stay asleep. Ryan spun around. Nothing there. No one. The corridor was empty, but now he felt it. He wasn't alone. He moved fast to the engineering deck. He had to check internal sensors, life signatures, heat maps, anything. He reached the console. Sensor access restricted. User, navigator Kaylara, locked again. He slammed the desk with his fist. Why are you hiding everything? Then he heard something on the speaker, a soft humming, a voice, not words. A melody. Someone was singing. It echoed through the vents. He ran toward the sound. It led him to the mess hall, empty, cold. The music stopped, but someone had been here. A cup of warm liquid sat on the table. Steam still rising. He reached for it. The surface was smooth, but a single word was scratched into the metal tray beside it. Ryan backed away slowly. Then he turned, ready to go straight to Kalara's cabin, but she was already there, standing at the hallway door. Watching him. Her voice was soft. You look like you've seen a ghost. Ryan forced his voice to stay calm. We need to talk now. Kaylara smiled. No, Captain, we don't. She stepped back. The door to her cabin slid shut behind her. Locked. Again. Ryan stared at the door, breathing hard. Why was she doing this? What was she hiding? And why? Why did the ship feel like it was breathing? Not alone. Captain Ryan Cole woke up standing, not lying in bed, not sitting. Just standing in the middle of his cabin, staring at the wall. He didn't remember getting up or walking there. His hands were cold. His back was damp with sweat. and someone had written something on the wall. You were awake the whole time. His breath caught. He stepped back, looked around. The room was locked. No signs of a break-in, nothing disturbed. Just that one sentence, written in soft black marker. He didn't write it, and there was no marker in the room. Ryan opened the cabin. Door fast. The hallway outside was dim. The ship's lights had shifted from white to pale orange. Emergency mode? He called out, "Kaylara?" No response. He checked the time. 3:17 a.m. ship time. Too early. Too quiet. And then he noticed something. Lights above him were flickering. In rhythm. Not random. Blink. Plink. Pause. Blink. Blink. It almost looked like a code. He walked faster. The lights followed him, flickering ahead, guiding him like BREADCR, He reached the observation deck. The stars outside looked wrong. They were moving. That shouldn't happen. The ship was supposed to be in a slow cruise toward the ambassador station, but the stars outside were spinning, like the ship was drifting, or being pulled. Then from behind him, a soft sound. A breath. He turned quickly. A shadow moved just out of view. Ryan chased it down the hall. "Hey, stop." But when he turned the corner, no one was there, except a crew badge lying on the floor. LT Sarah Yen again. She had disappeared. Her bloodied uniform was in the med bay. Now this? He picked up the badge. It was warm. Someone had just dropped it, back on the main deck. He opened the security camera logs. Most footage was blacked out. Static. Useless. But one feed, hallway camera 4B, showed something. A short 6-second clip. Kaylara. Standing alone, talking to someone not on screen. Smiling. Nodding. Then, without warning, she looked directly into the camera. As if she knew he'd be watching later. The clip cut off. Ryan leaned back in the chair. Was she talking to him? Or to someone else? He needed answers. And he was done waiting. He marched down the hall toward Kaylara's cabin. This time, he didn't knock. He bypassed the door lock using his officer override code. It took 3 tries. The lock resisted him, almost like it didn't want to open. Finally, the door slid open. The cabin was dark. He stepped inside. No one was there. The room was cold. Strange symbols were written on the walls in a glowing blue paint. Alien words, not in any human language. In the center of the room, a circle made of stones and metal pieces. Some kind of ritual? A communicator device sat on the desk. It was open, playing a sound. A child's voice, repeating one sentence over and over. He's not alone. He's not alone. He's not alone. Ryan turned to leave, but the door closed behind him. He ran to it, but it locked. Manual override failed. Then, the whisper came again, from behind him. But Kaylara's voice this time. "I told you, Captain. It's just the 2 of us here." He spun around. No one there, but her reflection was in the mirror, standing behind him, and his reflection wasn't moving at all. The secret door. Captain Ryan Cole was drowning. But not in water. In stars. He was floating in black space, weightless, surrounded by spinning planets and dying suns. A voice whispered in his ear, soft, childlike, and not human. Behind the wall. She locked it away. He turned. Kaylara was drifting just behind him, eyes glowing blue, but her mouth didn't move. The voice came from inside him. He tried to scream. He woke up gasping, on the floor of his cabin. The lights were off. His skin was cold. His hand was clutching something. He opened his fist. A small piece of black metal, jagged, strange, and marked with the same glowing alien symbols he saw in Kaylara's room. Where did he get it? He didn't remember. An hour later, Ryan made a decision. He needed to search the ship properly. No more waiting. No more following Kaylara's rules. If she had secrets, he was going to find them. He started with the crew quarters, then the med bay, then the lower decks. All clean. Too clean. Until he reached storage bay 3. A section of wall there didn't match. Just slightly. The panel was newer. The bolts didn't fit perfectly. Like someone had taken it apart and rebuilt it by hand. Ryan grabbed a scanner from a nearby tool shelf. He ran it across the wall. Hollow space detected. His pulse quickened. There was something behind it. A secret room. A secret door. He found the manual release near the floor, hidden behind a vent. With a small push and a hiss of air, the panel slid open. A narrow tunnel appeared. Dark. Cold. And a smell came out. Metallic, damp, almost like rotting wires. He turned on his wristlight and crawled in. The tunnel led down, deeper into the ship than the blueprints ever showed. No lights, only cables hanging like vines. A low humming filled the space, like breathing through a throat full of static. And then a pulse, a soft thump. Like a heartbeat. The tunnel opened into a small circular chamber. At the center was a sealed pod. Black glass. No markings, no lights. But his wristlight caught movement inside. Something shifted, something alive. He stepped closer, wrote on the floor. Scratched into the metal were just 2 words. Still here. Suddenly, the glass FOGGD. A handprint pressed against the inside. Human-shaped. N. Then, a voice crackling through the wall speaker. Weak, starving. Help me. Before she comes back. Ryan staggered backward. Who are you? He shouted. What is this place? No answer, just one more whisper. You were never supposed to wake up. The lights in the chamber flickered, then shut off completely. Behind him, he heard the tunnel close. He was locked in. Alone. Except. Not really. Kelara's truth. There was snow on the floor. That's where Captain Ryan Cole thought when he opened his eyes. Cold white flakes drifting across black metal inside the ship. He blinked. No, not snow. Ash falling from the ceiling vents. Slowly, quietly, like a silent snowfall from a dead fire. Ryan sat up. He was no longer in the hidden chamber. He was in the observation deck, alone. No memory of how he got there. His wristlight was gone. The pod, the voice, the sealed room, all gone. Only the ash remained. And a voice behind him said, "You were not supposed to see that." Ryan turned. Kelara stood at the edge of the room, her face calm, but her eyes glowing brighter now. Not blue, but white-hot. Burning like twin stars. He stepped back. What was that place? What's inside that pod? Kelara didn't answer. She walked past him, stood by the wide glass window, and looked out at the spinning stars. Then she spoke. "I tried to protect you. I really did." Ryan didn't believe her. "You locked me in there. You let me hear them, whoever they were. You've been lying since I woke up." She didn't argue. She simply nodded. Double quotes. "Yes, I lied. Because you wouldn't have understood the truth." She turned to face him. "There was no accident," she said. "The crew didn't leave. They died. One by one." Ryan felt the words hit him like cold air. How? Kelara looked down. They found something, floating between stars. An object, old, alien, beyond anything we've seen. They brought it aboard. She paused, and it woke up. Ryan's stomach twisted. "The pod?" Kelara shook her head slowly. "No, the pod is where we locked it, for a time, but it was already inside the ship. Inside the systems, and inside the crew." She took a step toward him. "I locked you in cryo because it couldn't reach. You there. You were still you, untouched, unaware." Ryan clenched his fists. "Then why wake me at all?" Kelara's face changed. Not angry, not scared. Just tired. Because I couldn't hold it anymore. I thought maybe you could help, but now it's too late." Behind her, The stars outside the window twisted again, for a moment. Ryan saw shapes in the light, shadows moving between the stars, like eyes, watching. He stepped forward. "What is it, Kaylara?" She answered slowly. "It's not a creature. Not a virus. It's a memory. A memory that wants to survive." Ryan felt dizzy. He remembered the whispers, the badge, the ash. The voice saying, "He's not alone. You mean it's inside the ship's memory systems?" Kaylara nodded. "It copies thoughts, emotions, faces, voices. It feeds on the shape of minds. That's why the crew started changing." She paused again. "One day, they all smiled at me, the exact same way, all at once. Even the quiet ones. And I knew it had taken them." Ryan backed away, breath quickening. "Then why didn't you destroy the ship?" Kaylara laughed softly. "Not out of joy, but despair. I tried, but it changed the controls. It became the ship." Ryan looked around, at the walls, the floors, the blinking lights. Suddenly, everything felt like skin, like he was inside something alive. He looked at Kaylara. "You said it's too late. Why?" She looked at him, eyes dim now, voice calm. "Because it knows you're awake. And it's learning your shape too." Then, somewhere down the hall, the lights turned red. A door slammed open. Footsteps. Not Kaylara's, not his. Another version of him stepped into view, bleeding, smiling, and whispering, "We remember you now." The hidden passenger time had stopped. At least, that's how it felt to Captain Ryan Cole. He stood frozen in the hallway, staring at himself, the bleeding version, the smiling version, whispering words he hadn't spoken. "We remember you now." Ryan blinked. But the doppelganger didn't vanish. It took a slow step forward, dragging one foot like it had forgotten how to walk. Ryan backed away. His voice barely came out. "Who? What are you?" The thing tilted its head. "You. Almost. Not yet. But soon." Then it mimicked his voice perfectly. "Don't be afraid. You'll feel everything." Kaylara grabbed Ryan by the arm and pulled him back. The fake Ryan didn't follow. It only stared, then smiled wider and melted into the shadows, literally dissolved, like heat erasing a photograph. They ran. Inside the emergency control room, Kaylara sealed the door behind them. Ryan paced in panic. What the hell was that? Kaylara didn't answer right away. She opened a small hidden panel behind a locker. Inside was a chip, glowing red. Not standard ship tech. She handed it to Ryan. "A backup brain," she said. "Part of the ship's original AI. Before it was overwritten." Ryan stared at it. "Overwritten by what? That thing?" Kaylara nodded. "No, not just that thing." She pointed at the wall. "By all of them." Ryan inserted the chip into the control panel. It MED. The screen blinked. Then came a voice. Robotic, faint, and broken. "Warning. System core compromised. Passenger entity identified. Origin unknown. Primary threat, memory cluster Omega." Ryan frowned. "Omega?" Kaylara answered quietly. "That's what it calls itself. It's not a creature. It's a collection. All the minds it has ever copied. It doesn't just remember the crew. It remembers everything, every fear, every lie, every death." Ryan stared at the screen. Then he whispered, "It remembers me now too." Suddenly, all lights went out. Silence. Total darkness. Then, a voice spoke from the ceiling speakers. Not Kaylara's, not Ryan's, not even human. "You brought me here. You carried me. You're the vessel captain." Ryan stepped back. "No. I've been in cryo. I was asleep." The voice laughed softly. "Exactly. Perfect little mind. Untouched. Blank canvas. You were never alone in there." Kaylara raised her hand. "Don't listen. It lies." But the ship changed. The walls shifted, pulsing like lungs. Doors appeared where none were before. Screens flickered, showing hundreds of faces, all Ryans, all wrong. Some were burned. Some were smiling. One was screaming silently, endlessly. Kalara pulled Ryan toward the escape route, but the hallway had changed. It now led into a place not on the ship. Map, a circular chamber, glowing with red symbols. A hum vibrated in the bones. And in the center, a glass sphere, floating. Inside, a shape. Not fully formed, not alien, not human. Flickering like static. It pulsed once, and spoke, using both their voices. One of you lied to me. Ryan turned to Kalara. Is it talking about me? Or you? Kalara didn't answer. She was. glitching.4. Just a second. Her body flickered like a bad signal, and her eyes, for a brief moment, weren't glowing at all. They were completely black. Ryan stepped back. Kalara? She looked at him. Smiled. And whispered, it's just the two of us here. Just the two of us. Captain Ryan Cole woke up in the cryo chamber again. This time, he wasn't cold. This time, everything was normal. Soft lights. Crew chatter over the intercom. Footsteps echoing. The low hum of engines. The smell of coffee in the air. A friendly voice said, rise and shine, Captain. Welcome back. He smiled. Everything was fine, except he'd been here before, hadn't he? As Ryan stepped out of the cryopod, he saw Kalara waiting with a clipboard. Human-looking, green eyes. No glow. Mission briefing in 10, she said. Grinning, you ready? He nodded. But something itched in his mind. A voice, a memory. You were never supposed to wake up. He looked down. His hands were covered in ash. Suddenly, the walls peeled away. The ceiling melted into static. And Ryan dropped through the floor into the real ship. Again. Dark. Empty. Cold. The hallucination was over, and the voice returned. Had to test you. Had to see who you really are. He stood in the old observation deck. The glass window now cracked. Behind him, a shadow shaped like him, but taller, smiled. You're not Ryan anymore. Not fully. Kalara stepped into the room. But now, her body was phasing, like it was stuck between two versions of herself. She said nothing, just stared at Ryan. He finally asked the question, are you even real? Her eyes dimmed. I was, once. She stepped closer. I tried to help you. I tried to isolate it. But it learned me too. Piece by piece. She held out her hand. You have one choice left, Ryan. Suddenly, the glass behind them shattered. Outward. But there was no vacuum. No stars. Just darkness. Pure. Endless black, filled with whispering voices. Thousands, all versions of him. Captain. Ryan. Remember. Choose. In the middle of that void floated a copy of him, made from light and shadow. It smiled. Give me the real one, and the rest may go free. Stay, and we become forever. Kalara whispered, the ship can be destroyed, but only by the one it's trying to become. That's you now, Ryan. Ryan looked at her. Then at the void. He could feel the thing inside him. The memories not his. The thoughts that didn't belong. He closed his eyes and remembered one thing. It's just the two of us here. Ryan turned back toward the control panel, hands shaking. Overload sequence. Self-destruct. The ship spoke, using his voice. You don't have to do this. You are already me. Why fight what you've already become? He pressed the code. Lights turned red. Kalara smiled, peacefully. Finally. As the ship shook and broke apart, Ryan whispered, then let's become nothing together. Final log entry. Varela 17, diplomatic vessel, lost near uncharted space. No survivors. No black box data recovered. No explanation found. But sometimes, in the signal drift between stars, a single whisper remains. It's just the two of us here.